So last time we read, you left off reading when Officer Short Shrift came to the scene of the fight in the word market, and he gave Milo and Talk a short sentence. And I know that this is kind of humorous or funny, a play on words, because when we're talking about a sentence and it's coming to like a crime or a penalty, that is how long you are in jail for. So when Officer Short Shrift asks them if they would like a long or a short sentence, Milo is thinking how much time he's supposed to spend in jail. But so he picks a short sentence, and then Officer Shrift says his short sentence is, "I am." So then he is also going to take him to jail. So on page 63, he is talking about what is going to happen to them as a result. So everyone agreed that that was a very fair sentence, and the judge continued, "There will also be a small additional penalty of 6 million years in prison. Case closed. Come with me, I'll take you to the dungeon." So Milo is shocked because he thought his short sentence was just, "I am," at the end of it, but now he finds out he has to go to jail for 6 million years. At the bottom of the page, Officer Short Shrift is telling him about his stay. He said, "You'll find it quite pleasant here," chuckled the policeman as he slid the bolt back and pushed the door open with a screech and squeak. "Not much company, but you can always chat with the witch." "The witch?" trembled Milo. "Yeah, she's been here for a long time," he said, starting along another corridor. So go ahead and pick up on page 65 with me. In a few more minutes, they had gone through 3 other doors, across a narrow footbridge, down 2 more corridors and another stairway, and stood finally in front of a small cell door. "That's it," said the policeman, "all the comforts of home." The door opened and then shut, and Milo and Talk found themselves in a high vaulted cell with 2 tiny windows halfway up on the wall. "See you in 6 million years," said Officer Shrift, and the sound of his footsteps grew fainter and fainter until it wasn't heard at all. "It looks very serious, doesn't it, Talk?" said Milo very sadly. "It certainly does," the dog replied, sniffing around to see what the new quarters were like. "I don't know what we're going to do for all that time. We don't even have a checker set or a box of crayons." "Don't worry," growled Talk, raising one paw assuredly. "Something will turn up. Here, wind me, will you please? I'm beginning to run down." "You know something, Talk," he said as he wound up the dog. "You get in a lot of trouble mixing up words or just not knowing how to spell them. If we ever get out of here, I'm going to make sure to learn all about them." Sounds like something Milo's learning. "A very commendable ambition, young man," said a small voice from across the cell. Milo looked up, very surprised, and noticed for the first time, in the half light of the room, a pleasant-looking old lady, quietly knitting and rocking. "Hello," he said. "How do you do?" she replied. "You'd better be very careful," Milo advised. "I understand there's a witch somewhere in here." "I am she," the old lady answered casually, and pulled her shawl a little closer around her shoulders. Milo jumped back up in fright and quickly grabbed Talk to make sure that his alarm didn't go off, for he knew how much witches hate loud noises. "Don't be frightened," she laughed. "I'm not a witch. I'm a witch." "What do you notice about the way that these are spelled? I'm not a witch. I'm a witch." So she's not a witch. She's a W-H-I-C-H instead of a W-I-T-C-H. So maybe she's not an actual witch, or maybe she has special powers like a witch, but her powers have to do with words. So as we continue to read along, here's some important vocabulary words we're going to need to know. Brevity means it's quick and brief. So brief quick, concise, brevity. Another word, wit, the ability to express oneself in clever ways that amuse people. We might think of puns as witty, intelligent, or humorous because of the thought that goes into it. And then corrupts means to cause to become harmed or damaged. So the evil king corrupts the kingdom and fills the people with dread. And lastly, miserly, like a greedy, stingy person who lives in a poor way in order to save money. So Mr. Krabs is a very money-oriented, and he loves the fact that SpongeBob happily works in his restaurant for a miserly salary. So Mr. Krabs is cheap or tight and stingy. I want you to pay very close attention to Faintly Macabre. She is the new character, the witch. So as you learn about her, be sure to go into your character charts and add any information. Already we learned that she is a little old lady, in that she's wearing a shawl, and she's a witch. Oh, said Milo, because he couldn't think of anything else to say. I'm Faintly Macabre, the not-so-wicked witch, she continued, and I'm certainly not going to harm you. What's a witch? Asked Milo, releasing talk and stepping a little closer. Well, said the old lady, just as a rat scurried across her foot. I am the king's great aunt. For years and years I was in charge of choosing which words were to be used for all occasions, which ones to say and which ones not to say, which ones to write and which ones not to write. As you can well imagine, with all the thousands to choose from, it was a most important and responsible job. I was given the title of official witch, which made me very proud and happy. At first I did my best to make sure that only the most proper and fitting words were used. Everything was said clearly and simply, and no words were wasted. I had signs posted all over the palace and marketplace which said, "Brevity is the soul of wit." But power corrupts, and soon I grew miserly and chose fewer and fewer words, trying to keep as many as possible for myself. I had new signs posted which said, "All ill-chosen word is the fool's messenger." Soon sales began to fall off in the market. The people were afraid to buy as many words as before, and hard times came to the kingdom. But still I grew more and more miserly. Soon there were so few words chosen that hardly anything could be said, and even casual conversation became difficult. Again I had new signs posted which said, "Speak fitly or be silent wisely." And finally I had even these replaced by ones which read simply, "Silence is golden." All talk stopped. No words were sold. The marketplace closed down, and the people grew poor and disconsolate. When the king saw what had happened, he became furious and had me cast into this dungeon where you see me now, an older and wiser woman. That was all many years ago, she continued, but they never appointed a new witch, and that explains why people today use as many words as they can and think themselves very wise for doing so. For always remember that while it is wrong to use too few, it is often far worse to use too many. When she had finished, she sighed deeply, patted Milo gently on the shoulder, and began knitting once again. I'd like for you to pause and think at this moment. What is Milo learning both about the kingdom of Dictionopolis, but also about life in general? What is he learning about the power of words? I want you to add to your character chart about Faintly Macabre. You need to mention that she is the king's aunt and that she has grown wiser over the years since she's been in the dungeon. "And have you been down here ever since then?" asked Milo sympathetically. "Yes," she said sadly. "Most people have forgotten me entirely, or remember me wrongly as a witch, not a witch. But it matters not, she went on unhappily, for they are equally frightened of both." "I don't think you're frightening," said Milo, and Talk wagged his tail in agreement. I thank you very much, said Faintly Macabre. You may call me Aunt Faintly. Here, have a punctuation mark. And she held out a box of sugar-coated question marks, periods, commas, and exclamation points. That's all I get to eat now. Well, when I get out of here, I'm going to help you, Milo declared forcefully. That's very nice of you, she replied, but the only thing that can help me is the return of rhyme and reason. The return of what? Asked Milo. Rhyme and reason, she repeated. But that's another long story. You may not want to hear it. We would like to very much, barked Talk. We really would, agreed Milo. And as the witch rocked back slowly, back and forth, she told them this story. Now, I know in stories when there is a quest and a hero that there's some kind of call to action. There's some kind of thing that they have to go do. So I wonder if it has to do with rhyme and reason. Now, rhyme and reason is an idiom. Some people say, I didn't tie my shoes. There was no rhyme or reason to it. So there's no real reason. There's no explanation. So I wonder who rhyme and reason are. I know they're a who because there's capital letters. So pay close attention as we continue to read Faintly Macabre's story.